pronouns are she, her, and sometimes queen. Her name is Janina Vivianne. She's a sex-positive event organizer, an activist, and she spreads sex and body positivity all around Europe. She's amazing, she's wonderful, she's colorful. Is she here? Hello. Today I'm not colorful. It happened. It's really funny.
Is my voice loud enough?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what happened? I'm dressed in black. I want to feel good standing here talking about something that I have never talked about. And this onesie just feels really amazing. So that's why I'm dressed in black. My name is Janina. Janina Vivianne is my artist name. I have another name that I don't say. I'm 32. I'm a white, cis, quite privileged woman with an Austrian citizenship. I'm definitely not an English native speaker, but I do try my best. I have ghostwriters for my Insta posts. Sometimes, otherwise I get comments. Normally at the Intimate Revolution, since I think 3 years, I give talks on safer sex because I really think it's super important that our community, our society is more learning about these things, also relearning, and always be reminded to get tested regularly and all these things. But this time I wanted to challenge myself. So maybe this talk, I split this talk in two so that I hope that you can take something away from it, learning about trauma responses. And at the end, it's a bit for me, because I want to try out the healing power of talking about my trauma. So I will split the first time. So anyway, there is a trigger warning for this talk. I will talk about trauma. Trauma often involves sexual abuse, domestic violence, and things like that. So if you feel challenged by those topics, you can leave now. You can leave also at any time. I don't feel offended. I'm really happy if you take care of yourself. So, and also I will give again a little warning before I do talk about my sexual trauma. Why do I do that? It's not for you, it's for me. Also, don't approach me talking about it later. I share that because I want to try out if it really is this magical healing to speak up about it, and also because I want to role model being vulnerable. But if anyone wants to leave any time. First card. So before talking about trauma responses, activation, and triggers, I want to mention that I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I do study Sxological bodywork currently, and I did a course with Atma that was also around somatics and things like that. And I trained in the ÖGS, the Austrian Sexological blah. And so I did follow some courses. They all repeated the stuff about trauma, and I think it's very relevant. I still learn about it. I'm on the own journey of my own trauma healing. So, and that's also what I mainly want to talk about, because I don't know how it shows up for you or for the people next to you in your life. I see trauma responses in our world. As Olu already mentioned, there is so much war and so much things happening in our society that I think are results of trauma, are results of people not feeling safe and then reacting and hurting others. So I think it's a very relevant and important conversation. While I prefer to talk about me, then I feel, I'm not a doctor. So there is really different forms of trauma. So in medicine, trauma is often was referred to when you hurt yourself on your knee or something. That is a form of trauma. But there's really different forms of trauma, like emotional trauma, a trauma that was about when you grew up, when you got neglected. There was other forms of abuse. So it's also really important to differentiate the different forms of abuse. Not the trauma, not always abuse. So there is an awesome image that I would like to bring in your mind to make you understand the different terms that I will be using. It's coming from Springer, from an awesome course around transformative justice that we did. And they did explain it very nice. If you hurt yourself and you have a wound, that would be like where the trauma happened. So this falling and hurting yourself. Or maybe someone hurt you. And with the time, so you will maybe put a bandage. I did that very long in my life. That stuff happened, I fell, or I got hurt from someone. I just pushed it away. I said, I have no capacities for that. I need to continue. I need to be strong. I want to be functionable. I want to be in society. I cannot have a wound now that it's open. So I covered it, pushed it away. What happens with that wound if I just cover it? Sometimes it starts healing a bit, but every time when someone brushes over it, it hurts again. So this is then the trauma reaction. When your body goes in a state, and there is 4 states that I will go into later. So yeah, remember, if you don't and take care of these traumas, these wounds, then sometimes they will, your body stores these wounds, and they might show up in very different situations in your life. And then there is also, at a certain point, that they may become scars, and they still are there, maybe invisible, but sometimes it's also good to take care of them and try to heal. I also want to say that something that I learned from Consent Academy, that even if it was not intended of that person to give you that trauma, there is still an impact. Especially when we talk about childhood neglect. I love my parents, and for me it's really hard to talk about things that happen because my friends, my partners know my parents, and I don't want that they, judge them badly. While I also, for my own healing and for understanding my own traumas, my reactions, to break the circle of harm, need to understand where it's coming from, need to talk about it. Ooh. Prior to that talk, I really tried it out 3 times and sent it over the recording to one of my partners and said, what do you think about that? And one time I really talked very deeply about what I experienced of one big event. And then I realized it's not about that big event. It did impacted me a lot, and it changed a lot for me. But there is so many little things that happen over the years, and they all reactivate something. And I don't think, if I would talk just about that, that would just be for me. I really want you to look at yourself, to maybe also see in your life where you want or can make time for thinking about your own little wounds or big wounds. And I know it needs a lot of courage and time, and it's better to be self-employed to do those things, because in the 40 weeks it can be very challenging. I long time said, I don't have the capacities to deal with my trauma. I don't want to go there. I actually started 2 trainings saying this, and I did feel things coming up even if I didn't want it. And that's, our body stores all these things. I will give tools how to regulate yourself and ask for support, but that's for the end. And where is it? I will go into the 4 known survival and stress responses. So there's fight. I really like to compare, or they are actually very much seen into the animal life, in the animal kingdom. So when I am, well, I talk about me, I will not pretend to be a bear, but when I face threats sometimes, I can get really an angry lioness. I like protect everyone around me, I like really like. I feel that coming up. It's just flooding me, and the moment that I realize where I'm already like attacking, and okay, well, how did I arrive from here to there? Okay, that was a response. So my autonomous nervous system reacted. It was not a conscious choice of me. So yeah, it's a very mobilized, so there is these 4 states, and the first 2 are mobilized, meaning you move, and the other one are immobilized. So you, without your really choice, start either freezing or falling. But yeah. So then the flight response, how it's called, meaning you just disappear. I really today thought, oh, it would be so awesome to just be away. Just run, bye-bye, I'm already at 7, see you tomorrow, I'm not there. No. No. So yeah, I do feel that quite often, especially, when my capacities are really low, when I have a lot of stress, when, I don't know, situations are really overwhelming. I tend to, back then, go a lot in clubs, and when someone was annoying me, I just disappeared. I took the freedom to just, I'm gone. Sometimes in relationships, that can be a problem. I also experienced 2 times in my life, at least that I remember, freeze, where my body got really still. I was not able to move anymore. I dissociated, so I was feeling like my body leaves myself, and I'm watching the scene, kind of shocked, but also not able to move, and needing to be present in my own, on what's happening to me. And this is one of these immobilized states. Then there is also fawn that, in this whole discovery around trauma responses came in later, and that I personally see a lot in our society with female assigned persons. It's fawning, so a form of submitting or not feeling safe to say no, and then just in order to get safe out of that situation, smile, giggle, pretend to want something, but the first moment that you can get out, or not actually. So, reflecting on the hundreds of people that I slept, I thought maybe there is some that, I actually maybe didn't want that, and I was just not having the abilities to say no, and sometimes because of housing, because of other things. I don't want to put them on that. It's not their thing, but I did not back then have the capacities or the abilities to set my boundaries. And I was thinking, oh, why? But I smiled. I laughed at them. I actually even felt pleasure. So it must have been consensual. Now, with that light, I see it a bit differently. I also see that I might have maybe not been in my capacities. I maybe should have, rather taken the cheap hotel than couch surfing. But I was young. I needed the money. But I just want to say fawn is very complicated, and also especially for people that are read as male in society can be very threatening. If they say, oh, but this person was smiling to me, they were laughing, they said yes, and now suddenly, after we had intercourse, they said, I didn't want it. So how can I now even know that it's safe to sleep with that person? I mean, that also works vice versa, to be honest. That is a thing that I heard of people asking me that question, how can I know that they honestly want it? And I think the big thing, like Ariana said, is communication. Really check in. And also not only listen, but yeah, also watch their cues. I might be smiling, and if I make a step in your direction, that's rather a yes. If I start actually already moving back and saying, yeah, I really want that, maybe I don't know. Actually, that's a no, to be honest. So that's my clues. And I think it's also really important to learn noticing your own body. I really try now to hear on my gut feeling. I really trust my belly on some people. I also, when I didn't trust my belly, because everybody's so beautiful, oh my God, come on. And I was like, but yeah, actually the belly was saying something. So yeah, I learned to trust this one. It's also growing because I put so much trust in it. But yeah, I'm really thankful for the cues that my body is giving me. I really learned to also nourish the body with trust, with self-care, with, also reaffirming myself that I know what I want and that I can set my boundaries. And also, if I didn't set my boundaries, that I'm self-compassionate with myself, knowing about some of my trauma reactions. So, sometimes I get really angry at myself, like, why didn't you say no? Why didn't you set the boundary? You are teaching about consent, you're teaching about boundaries, but you still, everyday life, we are living in an unconsensual world. Capitalism, all these things are really unconsensual. We need to go to work. Do we really have the abilities to say to our boss, oh, I really actually don't want to work right now? There will be consequences. So these things are really everywhere. And we have to, places like the Intimate Revolution or the festival that I create are little microcosmoses where we can practice setting boundaries, where we can really practice speaking up and saying no and say, yeah, this happened and this felt shitty. So yeah, I actually want to empower you to speak up, to try it out. And for me, play fight, for example, 4 years ago was such a revelation. I said so often no, because I didn't want to fight them. I wanted to choose. So I said no, and then I went out and like someone asked me something, like, no. I was like, they were shocked, and I was like, hell yes. So I really invite you to try out the no, because when you really know what you're saying no to, you start also really knowing what you say yes to. And then it's way more selective. I sometimes went into bed with the first one that came, so I said, oh, yeah, okay, good enough. But maybe I was missing out on, I don't know, someone that I would have really, really wanted to have a long life relationship with. I do have it now, but I just say sometimes because of that selection, because of that boundary, you say yes to something else. So, getting closer to still have some. This is, I'm not a doctor, but I will still say it because I found it very interesting. That when our autonomic nervous system is getting stuck in this survival mode, meaning one of these, very activated modes, we can really have also impact on our blood pressure, on our breathing, on our digestion. And also it can really result into chronic pain, migraines like I have, also autonomous autoimmune diseases. Not only having, I'm really bad in, I'm dyslexic, so it's really hard to really use very complicated words. So also in depression and other forms of addictions or anxiety. So I'm something that I didn't prove and don't have any source, so don't quote me on that, but yesterday, because I was like, suddenly I know nothing. I heard about and I learned about trauma reaction, but my brain was empty, and I was like, I cannot do that talk. Why did I say that I don't want to do that talk? And so I started listening to a podcast, and a doctor said that the they have a lot of patients that get diagnosed with ADHD because their trauma reactions in everyday life, very much the energy that they have, the constantly running, the constantly being active, very much looks alike, like ADHD. Starting to take ADHD meds. Just, yeah. One thing that I don't know, I will explore more, it did surprise me. But yeah, I do want to make, I'm not yet there to ask people to leave who feel completely, but I do want to make the span to my activism, why I do care a lot about safety, about awareness, about people speaking up, about people finding trust to speak up, about creating systems that people get the support that they need after talking about it. And it doesn't matter how long, if that happens at the festival or at home or in a relationship or wherever, we try to create a safer community, and that means also, in order to create a safer space for some people, excluding others. We cannot make this, I definitely stopped saying I welcome everyone, because I don't. While I also think it's very important to see that trauma can always happen, it can also be very traumatic and very impactful if it was not intended to hurt someone or to cross someone's boundary, that there can also be trauma on the other side. And that's why it's so important to establish really clear rules. The Intimate Revolution has now a policy and procedure that will be laying at the festival, where you can read how we handle those things and what, which teams there are to support accountability and support. The tools, and then I go to the, when you feel something arising that might be a trauma response, I often breathe. So that's the first thing that I do. I really take a deep breath like we did at the beginning. And still in that situation, take a deep breath. So I start slowing down and also trying maybe to step back if that's possible, if I'm not laying under someone. But yeah, and I really, if I'm still able, stand up. And if that's possible to you, to go through some water, help by putting some water on your wrist, on your face, drinking a glass of water can be a first thing to calm down your nervous system. So changing of heat can be very helpful. Maybe jumping, I'm not sure. Yeah, not jumping anyway. But yeah, going into the water or taking a shower can also be helpful, let's say it like that. Also shaking, I really love to calm my nervous system with shaking. And other things that I will have at the Intimate Revolution, a book, or many books actually around this topic, but one is called the Polyvagal Theory, exercises for safety and connection, that I can really recommend. There is 50 exercises how you can calm yourself or someone else down. And one of them is activating your senses. So when you start, so for that it's better if you're alone or you sit yourself a bit outside. It can come weird if you do it in front of someone without telling about it. And often when this comes up, for me, I'm not really able to talk. So I need to retrieve myself. I don't even try to give an explanation because I know that there's actually nothing really coming out when I do that. But yeah, that's, and then I try to name 5 things that I see for myself. And then I try to name 5 things that I hear. And then I try to name 5 things that I smell. And then I try to, that I touch? I think, yeah, that's the fourth one. But yeah, you know what activate your senses, basically. And slowly find back to your own body, to your own safety feeling. What I also really like, and what I always invite people in my workshops at the beginning, is at any time they can come back to just hugging themselves. At the same time, this is also an X for the other person. So I really like that. And closing your eyes, also like, you have all the tools to, often, not always, to regulate yourself and calm yourself down. And take the freedom to do that. It doesn't matter if you look weird or if the other person is not understanding. You can do that later. First, it's really important to take care of yourself. And then at the Intimate Revolution, for example, there is the soul angels that are here for emotional support. So if you want to talk about something, or if you need someone for co-regulation, so it can also really be helpful to ask someone, hey, could you hug me? Or can I share about something? And by asking that support, you also already start to reflect about things and go out of that activation, or can go out. And then also good can be dancing, yoga, going in nature, singing, therapy, very important one. And what I read, helping others. So apparently, it really also, but yeah, you have to also be careful there for who are you doing it. Yeah, okay, getting more excited in my body. Yeah, I think. Yeah, trigger warning number 2. I would love to share about my story. This is for me. Yeah, so if someone wants to leave, that she's very much invited at any time. You can close your eyes or ears. 4 or 5 years ago, when I was quite lost in my life, about to finish my film studies, I tried to move back to Vienna, and how to say, I met a person, was a man actually, yeah, it actually doesn't matter, and he was also lost, a bit homeless, and I invited him to stay at my place. So I don't know, it happened that he lived with me for 3 or 4 months. And we were really different. I was already in my sexual exploration, little libertinage moments, and polyamorous. And yeah, how to say? He loved alcohol and drugs. I didn't, so back then I was really clearly a non-drinker, so 0 alcohol, and also no drugs, at least not, we didn't take the same drugs, let's say it like that. And so when he used to go out in bars and do his things, I stayed home, I went to bed at 11. I had my very calm life, as I would call. And one night he came home, and so yeah, prior to that, I want to say I really love to actually getting waked up at night to have sex. So that was something that was consensually or discussed prior, that I would love if he comes home, if it feels good, that we still have sexual interactions. So one night he comes home very drunk, and I wake up. Oh, actually, I don't really remember, but that's how I put it together. I wake up with a penis in my anus and feeling how my face is pushed in a pillow, and my mouth is covered and my nose is covered, and I'm thinking I will die. And after that, I cannot remember something, basically for 3 months, when I think back. And I think the only thing that I remember is that was the most kinky that ever happened to me. So my mind could not understand what happened back then, and just made it a kinky experience. And I know the power of BDSM, and I know how much love and joy and how consensual it can be. And yeah, it did hurt me that, yeah, my body, I really started reacting to things. So back then, I started to go to Sxual and go to play fights, and every time when it was a quite kinky location, they did use breath play in their play fight, I started crying. I was not sad, I was laughing, I was cuddling, I was really feeling good. But my body just cried. So first 3 times I did not understand it. I was like, I don't remember, I don't have trauma, what is happening with me? I have to always leave when they are crying, when they are doing this breath play thing. So suddenly memories started to come back, activated, of seeing breath play happening to me. And yeah, I back then also started to do the course with asthma, and I started to learn about my emotions and about trauma, and yeah, things came up, and I understood that this was not a consensual act, and that my body and my mind just had stored it away, pushed it away. So yeah, I do think it's helpful to talk. So yeah, I think I'm definitely over time, but thank you for listening. And yeah, I really invite you all to, maybe with your loved ones, or like people, if you have things, or if you want to work around things, seek professional help, seek support. Also, avoid challenging spaces. I mean, I don't want to do an anti-advertisement, but we are like also, or like at least we do have this time #all-levels and advanced on the festival program. So if you're feeling already kind of activated, maybe don't go into the hardcore workshop at the moment. Just as a little advice. Because yeah, there is, I don't know. I understood that. I think I pushed myself into that hypersexual phase because I thought, oh my God, I will heal everything through sex. Also a trauma reaction. So yeah, just take care of yourself, seek support, seek help,